Of course.
Like the background I picked. Oh, we're live.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another Utopia Final Tribal Council.
God. I can't believe this is number 7. This is I was going to say our 21st finalist, but that's not true because we've had repeats. But
we have. But we're excited to be here. We're excited to bring you guys our 3 finalists, the first finalists of Generation 2 of Utopia. Very excited.
We're in a new era. It's not like we've talked about it at all.
But the new era is here, and we have our 3 finalists here. So let me just bring them up. And here they are. We have Emily, Malcolm, and Neo. We're going to go ahead. I don't think there's much else to say, and we can jump right into our opening speeches. And the first person who will be giving their opening speech is Emily. Emily, your will start as soon as you have the full screen, and you can go ahead.
Okay, let's set a timer. Hi, everyone. I just want to thank production for letting me be a part of this. I was kind of dragged into it, but it's fine. After all the headaches of staying up late, competitions, and stressing out, I am so proud that I am here. But to my game, I only have 5 minutes. I would say my game had 3 main words to explain what it was. One of them being foundation, the second being fade, and then the final one was assassin. So with foundation, like everybody does, you come into the game, you want to establish relationships, and that is exactly what I did. I formed my 2 closest connections with Kyle and Nick. Not only were they really trustworthy, but they were extremely social, where if I went far with them in the merge, I know that with our connection being so strong, that if there were alliances created, I would probably know about them. And if there was an alliance that was mentioned, I would probably be brought into it. So that was really important. As for mid-game, God, I'm so nervous. was the word fade. So at this point of the game, a big target like Kevin left, and I knew that with the large target that he had, it was essentially open season for big targets. And for me, coming out of a game like a month and a half ago and winning, I knew that I really had to lay low and play a different game. So essentially, it was open season for big targets, and I had to hide in the bushes to wait for my time to strike. During this time, I spent hours and hours talking to people individually. I stayed up till 5 to talk and try to establish those connections that would benefit me further on. During this time, I was able to speak Malcolm, where our relationship grew more and more. And although we did not always vote the same way, I knew that he would be a number going on forward. The last one is assassin. So at this point of the game, I placed myself very interestingly, but it changed the course of the game. You had on one side, you had Jordan, Nick, and Liz, and then you had Adina, Malcolm, and Neo. I was on a side where I had 2 big social they were all threats, but Liz was a social threat, Jordan was a social competitive threat, and so was Nick. So I made that decision I'm shaking. I made that decision to vote with the other side and really begin setting targets that would make my game a lot stronger, because in this game, I was called a lot of things, and I'm sorry, but to be recognized as someone who wasn't so threatening was but yeah, so my goal was to get rid of all these competitive threats and the social threats, which would benefit my game. I wasn't winning many competitions, and that was really frustrating for me, because I do thrive in competitions. But then we make it to the end where Liz and Neo were still there in Final Four. They still had rivalry with each other. And although that I did win final immunity, truthfully, I didn't need it because they had that rivalry where they would come after each other. In the end, where I was viewing everybody's games based on who I would win against, I didn't win this competition for myself, but it was mostly to leave the stronger players who had more of an advantage to win against me weak. So at that point, we did vote out because of her connections with the jury. I didn't make the flashiest moves because I was still trying to maintain that under the radar until Final 7. But, I'm so excited. I don't know what conversations the jury has had, but I'm so excited to get this moment to speak to you and explain my game, and I just can't wait to do that. I'm done.
Does my time start? No, good.
Yes, your time starts now.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I hope you guys are having a wonderful evening. I'm here to basically show you guys my game in full transparency. When I accepted to play this game, I accepted it out of knowing that I just needed a distraction. I was asked many times, and I just said, you know what? Why not take on another game? Why not play again? Because orgs like this is my passion. I love playing games like this. I love getting to meet people who enjoy the same things that I enjoy. And so being able to be a part of this season and getting to meet every single one of you, and some of you guys I got to see again, it was obviously truly a blessing. When I started this game and I have to admit my faults because there were a lot of faults. I trusted blindly. I thought that I was in a good spot. However, I also told myself that it's good until it's not good. And I just wanted to believe that it was really good, that I was aligned with Liz and Kevin. However, not saying that they weren't aligned with me, but however, further in the future, we found out where the actual real alliance on Telesto was, and it didn't include me. And unfortunately, it set me up on a down spiral because of at the tribe swap on New Oberon, it was me versus Jordan, a narrative that I did not want. However, it was quickly picking up, and thankfully from that, being able to win Immunity Challenge with the help of Jordan on majority of those, I made it to the clearing. But even at the clearing, things became bad for me because not for anything that I did. It was just for New Oberon. New Oberon knew that if they went to tribal council on the upper tribe together, they were locked and loaded. And so they chose to bring Kate down with them, which put me in the lower tribe of people where Jordan, Nick, Jordan, Kevin, and Liz were already grouped together, and they had to decide, keep me or get rid of me. And they already saw me as a threat to their game. So they got rid of me in hopes of gaining an ally in Kate. And unfortunately, I came back in the game, and that's where a lot of things picked up because I had to learn from my mistakes. There's no such thing as blind trusting. So I started to play my own game. I started to make more alliances and more allegiances with people in the game. And that's where my relationships with Juju came from. That's where my relationships with Malcolm came from. I tried to continue my relationships with the people that I was on New Oberon with, in which is where I bonded with Kyle, I bonded with Nick, and I bonded with Emily on our own different accords. It was very obvious how people viewed me. They viewed me as a number. A lot of people did not go out of their way to actually have me a part of their game. And that's something that I have to admit upon myself when it comes to a social aspect. These people did not want you to be their right-hand man. They already had somebody in that job. And so I had to just say, okay, now I know how people are going to view me. Let me just flip it on the head a bit and play around that. Let me be your number. Let me see where you are voting. Let me see what the options that I have. However, Malcolm was somebody that I found, and I put him through the ringer, but he was one of the main people that proved that they actually wanted me a part of their game. And from there, I started getting a lot of information that I knew to shape up my game going forward. That's how Despanio came to light when I chose to side with the Spinas, but that's also how I continued to use my relationships with people like Jordan, people like Nick, to do something for their own game. They felt that keeping me over Christina in that crucial live night was something beneficial for their own game. That wouldn't have come to light if I was such a big threat to their game. However, they knew that they can use me in the end because I was someone who was going to potentially be a number for them. How if that's how the cookies played out. When the final 7 came, I knew my path to the end. And that's something that I also have to admit to. You guys might look at me tonight and you might say you were flippy floppy. I got voted as a rat. That's how you guys viewed me. And I have to say, at the final 7, that's when I stopped. That's when I chose my path. I knew how I was going to get to the final 3. I knew the path there. And I'm literally sitting with the 2 people that I wanted to sit in the final 3 with because that was my path to the end. Whether it takes me to win or whether it takes me to a losing fate, that's the path that I wanted to go through. And so that final 7 moving forward was something that planned out perfectly for me and advanced me further. And I get to sit here and plead my case to you guys. And I hope you guys go easy on me.
Am I good to go? Someone? Anyone?
Yes, you're good to go.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Hello, everyone that's watching. Shout out to you all, the jury. Super excited to be talking to you all about my game, which I feel has been a little covert from the beginning, but I'm happy to outline it to you all. And if I use this time to reflect, and I think my game is summarized in 3 parts. I think the first act, which is the pre-merge, I would describe it as being selfless in order to be selfish. So when we were on Original Despina, my objective was to talk, build connections, build relationships, but utilize this mechanic of like getting these pieces in order to build trust with others. And I first did that with our 4-way chat with me, Andrew, Christina, and Sarah. So I gave Andrew my 2 pieces and I gave it no hesitation, no issue in order to build and establish that trust, and knowing that Andrew had to steal the vote the whole time. Then we went separate ways. Andrew got voted out over on New Despina, but when I got to New Oberon, I wanted to use that time, even though we were on a winning streak, but to really cultivate and solidify those relationships, specifically with both Emily, Kyle, as well as Nick, Neo, and Jordan. But I really spent a lot of time trying to connect with Emily and Nick, along with building on that foundational relationship that I have with Christina, which aligned us to come together to be the Big Tongue Gang. And then with that alliance, once we got to the clearing at Final 12, I feel like that was my opportunity to really be selfish. And that Final 12 round is a round I'm really, really proud of. Taking the charge and leading myself, Kyle, Emily, and Christina and not just be on the same tribe together, because if that was the case, we would have achieved that rounds ago when we decided instead of going down, we all needed to go up so that we were all together. But to separate Jordan and Kate, not just by having Jordan on our side, but bringing Jordan down to bring Kate up, but then also sending Jordan and Nick next to each other, knowing that it was probably going to be one of those 2, and then also protecting Adina and Juju to make sure that they were able to get to the merge as well. But one thing that I'm really, really proud of at that Final 12 is identifying Neo as an important person that I'm going to need in my game moving forward. So before that round was over, I warned Neo and I told him, Jordan's going to come for you. He's probably going to try and target you. Do what you can to try and survive. He didn't survive, but he came back. And I think because I gave him that knowledge before he got voted out and he saw what happened, he saw that that I had his back and I had his best interest at heart moving forward, which I think set me up for the second act, which was the early part of the merge, which I would say is my best defensive game ever. So knowing that I was the initial target for not just one, but those 2 first rounds where Jordan was ready to play 2 idols at so many people in the loop on idling Liz and having me be idled out of the game, but having foundational relationships with not just Emily and Kyle, but with Christina, who then I think helped bring in Adina and Juju, so that when that opportunity happened, we were able to flip the game and were able to get Kevin out. And then kind of putting Christina in the forefront of the duo that me and Christina had, so that when it came time, that Christina would be the one that was targeted first. And then once we got to Final 7, I felt like that was my opportunity to really be offensive in the game and carve myself a path to the end, where it was me, Adina, Emily, and Nick. and we were able to take out everyone round after round. But as we went through that final 7 into the end game, I was always someone that you needed in order for your move to be successful. And I think that is no mistake. That's not a fluke. I've gone through this game voting correctly every single time. I've never been on the wrong side of the vote. And I think that is a testament to my knowledge and awareness of everything that was happening in the game. And I'm very excited to answer any questions that you all may have about my game, and hopefully throughout these rounds of questionings that you all see me worthy as being the winner and a great representative of Utopia 7 Mission to Mars. The
end. All right. That is it for our opening speeches. So now we go into the jury questioning portion of the evening. So how this will work is each juror will come up. They will have 10 minutes to talk to the finalists, and then we will move on to the next one. And it will go in order of how they were voted out. So our first juror coming up tonight is Kevin. So as soon as he joins the stream, I will add him in and his time will begin. So we just hold a beat until he joins. I hope all the people watching are having a great time. Oh, here's Kevin. Perfect timing. Hi, Kevin.
Hi, everybody. Hey, guys. Haven't seen y'all in a minute, huh? Well, first of all, congratulations to all 3 of you. I'm, like, proud of all 3 of you. I know this was a hard game, so congratulations on making it to the end. So I'm just going to get right into the questions. Malcolm, my question is going to be for you first. So my question is, when you created the final 3 between me, you, and Neo, when that was originally created, at that point, was that sincere? Did you actually want to go to the final 3 with me and Neo?
Yes. And I was really disappointed to hear that you were telling Jordan everything. And all that did was tell me that, like, your allegiance was to Jordan, and it wasn't going to be to me. So unfortunately, during that round, it was either me or you, and that's just what it came down to. But when I created that, I was sincere about it. I wouldn't have made that specifically if I wasn't.
Okay, and did you tell Christina about it before or after you found out that I was leaking things to Jordan?
After.
Okay. Okay, so Neo, my question to you is going to be, so when you return to the game after you're voted out, I want to hear 3 things that you did to adapt and position yourself to have success in the game once you returned.
Okay. So I think the biggest thing that I did was make myself available. Immediately when I came back into the game, I had about 30-minute one-on-one conversations with almost half of the merge. Everybody basically pitching to me, and some of them being a lot more straightforward with how they wanted me to be on their side. I had those conversations with Jordan and Liz where they were pitching to me their reasons for doing what they did, to which I was real with you about it. I was real with you about my reactions to everything, but I didn't let there be animosity, at least not at the beginning. I let everybody think that we were all okay until I can decide where I really was. The other 2 things that I naturally just did was kept my mouth closed. I think a lot of people would have expected me to be a lot more chaotic, a little bit more up there, trying to like, I want this person gone. I want Jordan. I was not spewing that I want Jordan gone. I just said, if it's Jordan, it's Jordan at this point. I think everybody wanted me to do that. Wasn't going to do that. And my third one was just, I would just say, when I came back with humility. Like, I didn't come back and been like, yeah, I beat Kate, I'm back in the game. No, it was very much, I'm honored to be here, and I just want to keep going. I did not want people to be like hesitant of the game that I was, but more useful.
Hi. And Emily, so I feel like out of the three, I feel like I know the least about your game. So my question is, hold on, I wrote it down and now I'm forgetting. Okay, so what do you think are two significant things that you did or had a hand in that are good enough for me to give you my vote tonight?
So 2 things.
Yes.
Part of them was my mid game with fading. I think the only vote that I wasn't a part of was when my biggest ally was taken out. So me being able to be a social chameleon made me vote with people and have them trust me in those votes. As for the second one, how much time do we have left? Oh my God. As for the second one, you might have a little bit fun knowing this, but during live night at Final 7, everyone was under the impression that I was tattooing. And I wasn't around. I wasn't able to socialize when actually I had absolutely no tattoos that day. I was listening to every single conversation that was having on that call and letting everybody argue, because when you were at a Final 7, you need everybody to argue with each other, and it being a live night, it's going to happen. So at that point, I laid low and I let people just target each other, and that's exactly what happened. You had that rivalry with Neo and Liz that was created, and they always wanted each other out, and it never happened because it was not good for my game. It was good for their game, and that was a move that I made for myself.
All right. Well, I wish the three of you good luck. If I can give you any advice tonight, it's just be as honest as you can with your answers. Take a breath, breathe. I know you guys are nervous, but my vote is very up in the air tonight. Good luck to all three of you.
All right. Next up, we have our second juror, Kyle.
Hello. Before I start, can we just confirm that I sound good, that my audio is working? Okay, cool. Because we had issues with that during the roundtable. Okay, sweet. Okay, so I have the same question for all three of you, and I'm going to time you because I want to make sure that the first person doesn't take 7 minutes, and then the other two have to rush. So the question is in the interest of crowning a winner who has a full understanding of the game they played, that to ensure that you played the game that you did on purpose and that you got here because of the decisions that you chose to make. What do you think the biggest weakness is of your game overall this season? And then how did you account for that and or use the perception of it to your advantage? Either knowing your biggest weakness and doing something to change it, or leaning into that weakness and being okay, I can actually make that into a strength if I play it right. If someone wants to go first, feel free. Otherwise, I'll just pick.
Maybe you should just pick Kyle. I don't know.
Okay. Then it's you, because I thought you were about to volunteer.
Oh no! Okay. So I would say in terms of a general weakness, challenges, not my thing, never been my thing. And I knew that if I was going to get to the end, it was not because I was going to be a challenge beast. I knew that I needed to rely on my social game, and I feel in terms of that weakness, in terms of socially, I think sometimes it was putting too much stock in too many people. So I think realizing that maybe I was internally waiting maybe too long to cut the Despinas. If I had the opportunity and will to do it myself and I had the sole power, I probably would have done it at Final 7 or until the blackout round happened. But with everything that was happening, I knew that I needed to make it earlier and I needed to make it fast, because I was slowly realizing that I was number 4 if I was to even entertain taking the Despinas a little too long. And I tried cutting Christina as best as I can in terms of maybe not her directly, but cutting her option so that she had to ride with me. But I think as I continued to see the game progressing, specifically when Christina won the double vote and she had the ability to put the 2 votes on you, that's when I knew all right, this can't last any longer. I need to start making moves. And I think that if I had the ability to choose, like if I reflect at the beginning of the jury portion, I would have waited till like 7 or the blackout, whichever ones those were chosen. But I think just seeing how the game was moving and adapting, I made my switch faster, and I don't think I would have sat here if I didn't make that move.
Okay, thank you. Anyone want to volunteer, or am I going to pick Neo? Okay.
All right. So I said it earlier, and I want to just kind of explain and expand more on it, that my weakness that I automatically already acknowledge is that I have blind trust. I tell myself that if you are telling me something, I'm going to believe you until otherwise. And on multiple occasions, I've did that, where I put a lot of trust in Hydra, which was Kevin and Liz. I put a lot of trust in the secret alliance that me and Jordan had because of a past history. I put a lot of trust in Malcolm when he told me that there was a good chance I would get the escape pod, and then that got taken by Christina. Like, I put a lot of trust in people, and it kind of hit me at times. It hit me. However, what I took from that was what I needed to change. And as I took from that is, once I'm hit, I'm not going to get hit again by the same reason. And so I started to adapt myself, and I started to put myself more into positions in which this is the people that I can ride with. This is the people I have to just watch from a center. This is the move that I can go with. This is the move that I would love to go with, but it might put more aims on my face. I can't speak, but you know what I'm trying to say. Like, so I started to make bolder choices, and for me, bold is less. If people know me, people know that I want to do crazy stuff. And I chose on many occasions to just lay it back, because me trusting everybody to be like, yeah, we can do that. And then they use that against me to vote me out. I said, I'm not giving you that anymore. Y'all let me have it with the fake whispering, and I find out that everybody knew about the fake whispering. Like, I was like, that's gonna be the only bold thing I do, because after that, I'm just gonna stop. Because if I kept going, it was gonna be more and more targets in my back.
Cool. Thank you. Emily, whenever you're ready.
Okay. First of all, hi. I'm not trying to suck ass, but you were robbed. I feel like out of all the players here, this is my issue with what I think. If I do lose the game, this is why. For you, you were someone who was with me until the moment you left. You knew I was always opinionated. I always had ideas, and that we were always voting the same way. I think with what could happen here is that a lot of the things that I did afterwards, I could be incredibly discredited for, because people don't realize how much I did in this game when I did have a pretty big impact. When I was like, trying to find like fade in the middle, I think that was pretty smart of me to do at the time being. But afterwards, when I started to really start being the little assassin that I was being, I think because of my game being so quiet beforehand for other people, a lot of people are not going to think that I made the moves myself, that they were what I planned, what I wanted, and it's exactly what happened. And I'm scared that I'm not going to get the credit for that.
Okay. I guess, do you want to speak a little bit then to sort of how you use that perception to your advantage? Because like that is kind of like the second part of the question. And I want to give you the opportunity to like kind of fight against that then.
Fight against that. This is why the jury questions are extremely important for me, and for me to justify everything. I know that I'm going to have to do a lot of telling the facts, what it is, what happened, how I did it. But I do think that I shared a lot of that with the prior question and my opening speech, even though I was really nervous. So that's basically about it. I know that I'm gonna have to fight my ass off the next, like with the jury, and I'm completely prepared to do that and prove it. Did I answer that right?
Yes.
Wait, do we have to answer that too, or is that just an Emily question?
That was just kind of a follow-up. I just wanted to make sure that, like, yeah, if you have something in mind, feel free, because I have about 3 minutes left. I went fast.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, in terms of like, how did I combat that perception? I think for me, I just like leaned into it, right? Like, I think that people saw me and Christina as a duo, but they saw Christina as the head. I've had plenty of people tell me that, like, you're number 4, right? You know that, you're not going to be the winner out of the Despinas. And I was like, yep, think what you want, believe in that, right? I think in touchy subjects, it's like, who do you think is running in the game? Me. That's what I wanted people to think. Who needs the wake up call? That was me. I chose myself for both of those answers, and I leaned into that so that it gave me the opportunity to have the options to move forward in the game. And again, it gave the opportunity. So, like, when Emily talks about like being an assassin, I feel like just getting to the end of the game, you can't be an assassin alone. And every time Emily had a plan, she came to me first. At least she can correct me if that's not correct, but I felt like she came to me because it was always at like 2, 3 a.m. when we talked about it, right? And then that's where I said, you know what? Yes, like I agree with that. Let's do that, right? And I think an example of like me, I feel having control is specifically the Jordan vote. When at Tribal, he's asking for Liz, Neo, and myself to save him, and he went to Neo. Neo's entertaining it, and when Neo comes to me, I say no. It has to be Jordan, and I put my foot down, and that's it.
Okay. I have about a minute left. If Neo, you also want to answer that, I don't want to.
I think that I answered it originally, so I wouldn't want to take up too much of your time. But I do want to just say, while I have you here, thank you for the quid that I was not able to use. I just want to say that. Thank you.
What the fuck, Kyle?
I'm not the one on trial here. You guys are. Ask me questions. All right. Good luck, everyone.
You should have asked that.
Okay. Our next juror is none other than Juju the Kid. Juju, your time starts now.
Okay, hey. Okay, I'm so dumb because they made a spreadsheet about the questions and I never looked at it, and then I just wrote it in the chat, and Kyle kind of took the question I wanted. But I did want to say congratulations to all of you guys. It's so impressive. This is such a hard game, and it's so impressive that you guys made it here. I know that this was my hardest game for sure. It was crazy. I really respect all of you three. But my question is, I'm gonna have to like reshape it in my head right now, but it is gonna be tough, and I hope you guys don't take it against me for that, because I really am open. I'm open-minded. I have different relationships with all of you guys, but I want you guys to know that I'm asking this because I want you guys to convince me to vote for you, because right now it's in the air for me. But to be honest, I hate when people say this because it's like so annoying and sounds so bitter, but I want you guys to take what I'm saying and to apply this to your like responses, because I feel like it needs to be acknowledged for me to notice that you guys have self-awareness. And it's that I feel like this is a little bit of underwhelming final three, just because like we all kind of like thought this was going to happen like really early into the game, because to be honest, like when I was still in the game, I was like, when they asked me like, who do I think I should sit next to if I wanted to win, it was a combination of the two of the three of you. So I think that, and that's good. That's good because you want people to think that. So, but I want you guys to like, when you guys answer the last question, it felt like you were trying to like subtly like hype yourself up by saying your weakness, but I really appreciate a self-aware person, and I want you guys to tell me genuinely what it was that you did that was not good, because I will appreciate someone who could realize what they did that wasn't good, and without I don't want to hear like, oh, like I was underestimated so much and that's why I got to the end, and like I wanted people to think that. I want you to tell me what you actually did that wasn't good in the game, and what made people think that they could beat you. And they obviously couldn't, but like, what did you do that wasn't good? Because I want to see some self-awareness. So whoever wants to go first, you can go.
I'll go first.
Okay.
Hi, Juju.
Hey, I love you.
So I think honestly for me, the worst thing that I did, and you guys can take this how you take it, but I take this as a genuine thing, is show you a lot of me without my sobered mind. I kind of just kept on with this persona of I'm just gonna smoke every day and drink every day and just say the craziest stuff out of my mouth and just be like ha ha ha, and then I'm like, like, what's your favorite superpower? You know, like I created this whole persona of myself, and because of that, I think people didn't really take me seriously. Like I said, when I had one-on-one conversations with people, I loved them. I thought they were genuine. I thought they were truthful. But when I hear other people talk in comparison of what they talk about in their one-on-ones, my one-on-ones never got to that limit because people didn't really view me as somebody that they really, really needed. They viewed me as someone that they just needed to entertain so that I vote with them. And I think that had I came in a little bit more and just represented myself with a little bit more pizzazz that I know I personally have, that's not the dumb, young, drunk kid, I think that people would have actually included me a lot more in on their own personal plans, that I didn't have to maneuver and wiggle through and lie to people and say I'm gonna I do all this rat shit that people put on my name. I wouldn't have to do that. But unfortunately I did. And that's because of how I chose to portray myself. And so that's how I answered that question for you.
Okay, cool. Whoever's next.
Do you want to go, Emily? Do you want me to go?
Okay, sure. As for the worst thing that I did in this game, I would say I was a pretty shitty person, and I think a lot of people on the jury might think morally that I am terrible, because I often would, sometimes I told people to fake cry. I told people, I often fake cried with people to make it more believable that I was being genuine. I told people to fake cry on separate calls with like Liz and Adina. With Adina, I told Liz, like, before Adina left, I'm like, you really need to make this believable so it's a blind side. So I'm afraid that one of the worst things I did in this game were pull people's heartstrings to the point where it was a little too much. And I can admit to that. And I know, I've cried in games. People have made me cry in games. But I just don't think I know that is wrong to do, but it is I just think it was a little too much at times.
Okay, Malcolm.
Hi, Juju.
Hey.
So I think for me, I talk too fucking much. And I can recognize that. I can acknowledge that. And I think in this game, I was always thinking about 1,001 scenarios of what needed to happen in order for this outcome to happen. I think about the Sarah vote and I'm like, all right, if we put 3 and it's just us 3, it's at least gonna be 3, 2, 1. You know what I'm saying? If I can do I was thinking about that all the time, right? Even on New Oberon, I'm talking to Christine and I'm like, yo, if we do this, it's gonna be Neil versus Jordan. How do you feel? Do you do Neil? Do you do Jordan, who has better connections? I was always running through scenarios in my head, and I half of that's probably just what I felt like I needed to do because I'm just someone that's always running numbers. But I think what I appreciate and with my relationships, especially with Christina in particular, was that I felt like she was someone that I was shut the hell up, calm down, don't do this, do this. And I didn't come in hard-headed thinking that I knew everything, but that I was like, you know what, let me be quiet, because that way it's never gotten me a win before. If anything, it just gets me aggressively targeted, and that's probably what happened at the beginning of the merge, with such a faction trying to get me out at the beginning of the game. But I think sitting back, being able to listen more than I talk, I think helped propel my game forward and gave me those opportunities and those options. So talking less, listening more.
Gotcha. I think I still have a few minutes, so I just want to I like those answers, but I want to kind of nudge you guys in the way that I see it right now and how I feel like a lot of the jury sees it. And you don't even have to answer it right now. This one in the future of your questions. But Neo, for me, the biggest thing I have a struggle with, I love you. I think out of the three of you guys, I had the best relationship with you. But what I find hard voting for is the final 12 round. I don't care that you were voted off, but in the sense that you kind of seem like you gave up, for me, that's something that is difficult for me to vote for. And Malcolm, for you, it's more like the first few rounds. Like you said that your biggest issue at one point was cutting Despina, knowing you were at the end, you were at the bottom of us, which you were. But I think that you only turned against us when you had no other option to, and so we really don't know if you could have or if you would have, because you had to turn against each other. And then Emily, my biggest thing is like I didn't really get to see as much as your game, but I asked people in the round table like who genuinely feels like they were influenced by you, and not a lot of people came to your defense there. So I would love to see those like points answered later on in the game, because I really want to hear you guys out. And I'm really like, I have no idea who I'm going to vote for still. So yeah, thank you guys so much. And I'm looking forward to talking to you guys after.
Bye, Juju.
All right, coming in next, we have Christina.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Oh gosh, it's so nice to see you guys. I'm really proud of you all. Great job, and congratulations for being in the final 3. I'm going to start with my man Malcolm. We'll see if we're still homies after this. So I want to address, I had questions that I was going to ask, but I rewrote questions based on what you guys were saying, because I want to address some of the things that you guys talked about. So Malcolm, you said that you, at one point you noticed that like you were a target, but then you decided consciously that you wanted to put me at the forefront, to make me the target. But you also said that the double vote round was the round where you realized that you needed to start making moves as well, or that you needed to be more visible. So those things kind of contradict to me. So I'm wondering, like, which one was it? And if it was your strategy to make me more visible as a target, what did you specifically do to achieve that?
Yeah, so I think with that round, so I think to like kind of piggyback off of what Juju was saying, and also addressing what you were saying, right? Like, Christina, like, you were my girl. You know that. And at the merge, right? We were in between Nick and Emily, and we were in between Kyle and Emily and Adina and Juju. And I was like, Christina, we gotta pick. And I'm telling you, I like Kyle and Emily. I'd rather work with them. And you're like, we gotta keep the Despinas. That's gonna be good. That was the first time where we just weren't clicking. And I think that's where I was like, okay, that was kind of like the yellow light of like, all right, me and Christina, we're not gelling like we were, because I felt like we were step in step the entire game until that point. So I think that was kind of my like the red flags kind of starting of like, if Christina wants the Despinas while I don't, it must be because I'm number 4 of the Despinas, and the Despinas work better for Christina's game than it potentially would my own. I think when it comes to that round of the double vote, also my red flag was when me and you were talking. I'm like, Nick, what about Nick? And you were very insistent, like, it must be Kyle, it will be Kyle. And I think that started because Despina, we had that plan to tell Kyle about like the All Girls Alliance, and I told Kyle right away, like, that's not what happened. This is actually what happened, but I do basically need your vote to stay. The reason why I did that was so that Kyle knows that, like, hey, this works, but know that I'm trying to work with you, but not also trying to do the same thing that the Despinas are feeding you. So that's where I was kind of propelling you to kind of be more up there and more visible than I am. And then that affirmation was coming not just in Tubbsy subjects, but also specifically with my conversation with Liz, where she said, like, you know, you're number 4. We're targeting you because the Despinas are willing to discard you. So I was getting enough information for me to know that I was number 4 of the Despinas, and using that opportunity again to really, really propel you to be up in front, because I felt like me and you, we were step in step, hand in hand, and we were doing everything together. But when we started disagreeing, our games were really just like going so opposite of each other. And that's when I needed to start making that move. It's one of the reasons why I told Neo, because I knew that Neo had 25 quid. I told Neo, outbid Christina, because she might do the escape pod. I warned him that could be a possibility, because again, you're my girl, and I knew that's something that you could do, because I went to you with the plan of, have Neo take the quit at 7. And like I said, it would have been the 4 Despinas at the first final 7. And then at the next final 7, with Neo came back, I would have made my move. But once you took the escape pod, I felt like, all right, this has to be my moment and it has to be now, right? And even when I was continuously getting targeted those first 2 rounds, I went on call with Liz, I went on call with Jordan, I went on call with Nick, right? To keep on building those relationships so that I had those options moving forward, for that when I turned on the Despinas, I'm not then just knocked out successfully, like consecutively.
Yeah.
Consecutively.
Yeah.
For the rest of
So
us.
just quickly, because I want to give everyone a chance to talk, but just quickly, like, so I understand how you positioned yourself well for if we were to turn on each other or whatever. But I'm curious, you said like specifically that you've made me a target. You wanted to make me a target. And so is it your conversation with Kyle that did that? Or like what specifically did you do in order to achieve that?
Well, I think that half of it, at least from my perspective, is that like hearing about like the All Girls Alliance, people were already onto us, like we know, right? That me and you were the duo. So I kind of propped you up in those conversations as well. Did I outwardly say like Christina has to go? I did not do that. But once you took the escape pod, what I did was, I kind of lowered it where I was like, I'm so disappointed. I'm so hurt. I thought me and Christine was good. She left me here by myself. I thought we were together, right? So I wasn't outward. I didn't aggressively targeted you, but I maybe played down my emotions knowing that this was going to be my moment.
Got it. Okay. Thanks, Malcolm. Okay. So Neo, I'm curious to know, you and I didn't have probably the closest game relationship out of everyone in the game. And so I appreciate you explaining your game, but I'm curious to know, like, what's one skill that you think served you in the game that you think Malcolm or Emily don't have?
Ooh.
Or don't have as much of?
That's okay. That's interesting question. What skill that I have? I would say fluidity. That's the word I would just use, is that I'm not the type of person to just be like, this was the size. This is where I'm at. I'm not willing to do this, or this. When I had a conversation with somebody, it was just a genuine conversation. It was just no bullshit, no error. And that's what I loved, because I took that from you when you and Kyle both had separate conversations with me when I came back from the clearing. You both basically were no bullshit, let's just talk. And I was like, bet. I love those conversations. And I told that to Malcolm. I told that to Kevin. I love those conversations. And so I definitely kind of emulated that when I talked to more people, was just talk. Just talk. What do you want to know? What do I want to know? And I feel like I did that a lot, to where I had the information. Now, that's not to say that Malcolm and Emily also did not possess that skill, but I just know on majority of the skills that all three of us have in total, that is something that is more distinct to my game, was how fluid I was able to talk to people, to where it wasn't just I'm locked in, until I had to be locked in when it came down to the whole Liz thing.
Got it. Cool. Thanks, Neo. Emily, so, I mean, I do have a couple questions for you, but we only have 3 minutes. So I think I'm just going to ask you, specifically, I want to know, obviously like the paranoia, the fact of you going home you saying that you might go home every week, or every round, was something people talked about a lot. I'm curious, like, what was the intention behind that? If there was an intention behind that, why the paranoia?
Okay, so yeah, like I said, coming out of the game that I just won, coming into this, I knew like the paranoia thing was exaggerated extremely. I could be wrong, but this is the way I view it. When I act so completely paranoid, it makes people feel like I need them a lot more, where they can secure me, make me feel special, and then they would feel that I would have them a lot more than I actually did.
Okay. Do I have any time left to just ask a follow-up question?
Yes, you have a minute.
Okay, awesome. So this is obviously a personal question. The Girls Alliance, what was the intention of it for you? Like, what was the strategy of having a Girls Alliance for you? Because you're the one who actually brought it up to me first.
See, I loved the idea of a girls' alliance. At the time, I was all for it, but also it was a great way to have you as one of the biggest players in the game at the time being to be on my side. You had so much influence with people individually that it was just smart for me to have you in my pocket at the time being, because you were just so good at talking to people one-on-one, and I just really wanted to be on your side for that. Unfortunately, you got cut short, but yeah, that's basically it. Like, you were just such a big player, and I really wanted that to have you on my side for that advantage.
Okay, well, thank you, everyone. Good luck. And you all look really amazing. I love the fits. Okay, bye.
Hi.
You guys are all showing up so promptly tonight. This is great. Usually Jen and I have to like entertain people.
Much easier. On that note, we do have our next juror here. So here is Nick.
Hi. Congratulations, everyone. So my question is for everyone, and we can just go in reverse order of who went first the last round. So whoever went last can go first. My question is, a lot of the merge was defined by the idea of duos. Sometimes it manifested by the way of tight partnerships. So like Malcolm, Christina, Emily, and Kyle, Neil and Malcolm's secret duo that no one knew about, Jordan and Liz. But other times it also manifested in rivalries, right? Like Malcolm and Liz and Jordan and every single person in the game. How did this theme affect your game, if it did? And how were you able to benefit from it? Or how were you able to break away from it? So whoever went last can go first. Yeah.
Okay, that's me. So like you said, it was me and Kyle. I think that the moment I lost Kyle, I still had you. Like, I wouldn't say that, but like there was a point that where we stopped communicating as much. But the moment Kyle left, I think that was your ability to really bring me in. So when you were like talking to Jordan and Liz at the time being. So I did lose a big ally, and this is going to sound terrible, but I do think that when I lost Kyle, when I did, was very, this is sound terrible, but I think it was really good for my game when I lost my biggest ally.
You did say that a lot in the game.
Yeah. Because I was able to separate from that and then focus more on you, and then work with Jordan and Liz at the time, who had a lot of, y'all had a lot of opinions, and y'all were stars of the show, which comes into play with me. And when I wanted to fade, which worked perfectly for me. I think I answered that correctly.
Yeah, I think that's good.
You look fantastic.
Okay. So, hi Kevin. Oh, wrong name. Hi Nick. So, let me explain why I was about to call you Kevin. You kind of, with your question, you kind of like were listing out the duos, and for my own personal,
I mean, there were more duos. That was just
Right.
an example. Yeah, I didn't want to.
No. For my own personal look, I saw my closest person being Kevin. And so losing Kevin at that first round, yes, I became close to Malcolm. However, my game was not to Malcolm. It was very much to myself. And it became a point where I realized that with Malcolm, I would progress a lot further. And so that's where a point where I started to include Malcolm more in my game. But I do want it to be pointed out that in that beginning of that merge, it was not where Malcolm was who I was tied to. And when it came down to the rivalries, I feel like even though I was trying to do my best to keep a low profile and not be the chaotic person that everybody loves to say that I am, which you've gotten to see. I had rivalries with Jordan, and I just tried to play that out as natural as possible. When anytime anybody brought up the feud with me and Jordan, I negated it because I did not need that to be a tactic in a conversation of, well, let's get Jordan out for me, or let's get Neo out for Jordan. That's not the conversation that I wanted to be had. Same thing when it came down to Liz. When I argued with Liz, me and Liz's thing was nothing against Liz in my book. It was at the point where I knew that out of Liz, Jordan, and Nick, I would like for Liz to go at this point. And it kept that. Out of Jordan and Liz, I would like for Liz to go. Out of Liz and Adina, I would like for Liz to go. I just kept it there. That was just it. So I didn't try to feud up on the feuds. I wasn't trying to let that be a part of my game. It was just something where I just maneuvered to. I know what I wanted, and I let it do. I hope that answered as well.
Yeah. That's good.
Okay, so I think when it came to capitalizing on like duos getting lost and things of that nature, I felt like I tried to pick up the pieces of the duos that were lost, right? So like with Kevin going, I felt like I was like, all right, this is my time to really get in on Neo. And that's when I first proposed the strategy of the Quid, right? I talked to Christina about it first, then proposed it to Neo and said, hey, this is what needs to happen. Like if you do this, this, and this, we'll get you the escape pod at 7 and you'll be set. Right. So I tried like to make sure that Neil was brought into my side. Right. When it came to Emily losing Kyle, I went right to Emily and I said, hey, I tried telling Kyle, like, if he puts 2 votes on Nick, it would tie. I didn't say it flat out, but I was like, it would have tied. We would have kept Kyle and so on and so forth. But I wanted to build those relationships with Nick and Emily, who lost their duels at the first part of the game, so that it brought themselves to me even closer as we needed each other moving forward. And then I think specifically thinking about the duos of the rivalry of Neil and Liz, as much as Neil was like, I want Liz to go, I kept on saying absolutely not, because I want Liz to keep on going further and further and further, so that Neil would have his eyes always set on Liz, and putting myself in a final 4 situation where that it was either going to be Liz or it was going to be Neil. And it would ensure that I sat in the final 3, because again, I don't win challenges. That's never been my thing. It was never going to miraculously happen at final 4, but I needed to make sure that I carved myself a path to the end. So that's how I capitalized on duos being split, but also igniting and keeping rivalries together.
Okay, I have 5 minutes left. So follow-up questions. Neo, who on the jury are people that you felt were just entertaining you, and who on the jury were people that you felt actually wanted to work with you?
So I think just based off the conversations that I had with people, you, Kyle, and Kevin were the people who were, and Juju. You, Kyle, Kevin, and Juju were the people who were actually talking to me, that were talking to me on a basis where you were giving me information that potentially meaning later in the game, we can work together. And I respected that. And while the people that I didn't name, being Christina, Liz, Jordan, I felt like in those conversations, it was truly conversations for their own benefit and not for a mutual benefit.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Malcolm and Emily, it sounds like you guys did a lot more together than people have seen or realized, and all that shebang. Malcolm, what's one thing you did better than Emily, and Emily's what's one thing you did better than Malcolm? And Malcolm, you can go first.
Yeah, I think one thing I did better than Emily was keep my composure when my name was out there. Like, I don't think Emily's name was really out there. Like, every time she mentioned it, I was like, girl, what are you talking about? Like, who's mentioning your name? I was just so confused, right? But knowing that I was the initial round vote for those first 2 rounds, instead of trying to, hey, push it on to someone else, right? Like, I just took it for what it is, and I trusted the relationships that I had to know that I was going to get out of that. Whereas I think if Emily was ever really targeted, I don't know what that would have looked like. So I think just keeping my composure and keeping my calm, I think I did better than Emily.
Okay, Emily?
I don't know how to be calm. Okay. Okay. But I did kind of say this with Christina, that I feel like even though I was paranoid, it did make me seem weak, and it made me people feel like I needed them a lot more. I think Malcolm did say it already, that at one point it was what I wanted while Malcolm was ready to vote with me. And I think what Malcolm, I fucking hate shading on people. I'm so sorry. I think that the fact that he was always second with my idea and he wasn't the one to initiate it, other than getting rid of Liz at the end, was his downfall.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Just last thing, sorry. Malcolm, when you talk about the early merge, I think you keep meaning to say Kyle's name, but you keep saying my name by accident, I think. Because every time when you talk about the four during the reputation, you kept saying Nick and Emily and not Kyle and Emily. So I think you just mix up the names of me and Kyle sometimes.
Sorry, it's like I don't know if it's the purple thing. And
So I get confused. Oh, sorry. So no, it's okay. It's okay. It's just a bit confusing. But that's all. Good luck, everyone.
I'm sorry.
We're back. And our next juror is already here. So everyone, welcome Jordan.
Hi. I'm here to make your life a little. Just kidding, I'm not. Congratulations. You three made it to the end. Something everyone is very envious of in the jury. I'm going to try to be quick because I have 2 questions for people. So I'm going to try and be quick. So if I cut you off, please don't get offended. I just want to get through and ask everyone everything. So Emily, the vibe that I get, from talking to the other jurors and as we try to break down people's games, is that you kind of only played from like the final 7 on to the end from what we can see. And you also preached loyalty for like a big portion of the game, but you sent all of your allies to the jury, or your like bigger allies, the people you were working with longer term, I guess, were sent to the jury. So can you kind of explain a few things that you did prior to the final 7?
Prior to the final 7? So in the beginning, I had my basic connections from the very beginning. Not basic. Oh my God. No, they were my great allies, Nick and Kyle. Did I really praise loyalty that much? Because from what I know, like I was constantly maneuvering myself from side to side in order to be in a vote where it didn't even come across people's mind that it was me. So I'm kind of curious as to what you are looking for in an answer when I feel like this is like not a good way to say this, but I feel like I had my main allies. They got me far because of their social connections. I always knew what was going on. And if alliances were made, I was brought into them. And realistically, I wasn't really loyal. Like, I backstabbed a lot of fucking people. And, I think it's very impressive that my name was not out there once because of it. So I'm wondering if I answered that correctly enough for you, because for me, I don't feel... Okay.
Yeah, you're good. I was about to cut you off anyways because I'm trying to keep going. Also, I threw your name out. I would like to say that, but no one wanted to do it. Malcolm, I think one of your bigger flaws in the game socially was if you were not interested in working with people in that round, it was extremely transparent in the conversations that you were having on call. You were completely different in the game based on if you wanted to or if you didn't want to work with someone in that round in terms of like game information and things that you were willing to talk about. So can you talk a little bit about your social game and how you just like maneuvered the different rounds with the, kind of fluidity of the merge?
Yeah, and look, I try not to bullshit with people, right? Like if I'm working with you, you know it. If I'm not working with you, we don't know it, right? But I think what made it more impactful, especially when I think about like the conversation with me and you, Jordan, is that you knew, because you knew what I was like when I wasn't trying to work with you. You knew what it was like when I was actually trying to work with you, right? So like you knew, like I was like, I'm not here to bullshit you. This is the reality of the situation. And I hope that transparency relied moving forward, right? Because there was nothing that was stopping you all at the first final 8 to say like, let's just do Malcolm and call it a day. But I think because I had enough awareness to say that I can't keep on doing the same shit and I need to do something different to know that I'm serious about working with Jordan moving forward and not having this continued rivalry be a thing, and for us to work together, especially knowing that there was an impending Girls Alliance that we were gonna have to face the following final 8 when Christina came back. I knew that I couldn't sit here and like bullshit with you, and I needed to be transparent. And I think sometimes for me, being so close to the chest with information, I think sometimes was because in those early parts of the merge, I knew my name was out there. I knew you all were voting for me, and it felt like that was not going to change. So I was like, let me talk just to talk, but I knew what the situation was, so I'm not going to like press the issue. But I tried having it be like black and white so that you knew when I was voting with you, I was voting with you. When I was not voting with you, it was very transparent that I was voting with you.
Yep, absolutely. Neo, hi. We had a roller coaster of a game with our relationships, but I probably respect your game the most out of everyone that's sitting here. So my big question for you, and I think we talked about in the jury, why were you so willing to continue working with people after they burned you or lied to you? Like, prime example, me. Like, I burned you multiple times through the pre-merge, the swap, obviously voting you out at 12, and then like you still were open to working with me through the entirety of the game. So can you kind of talk on that a little bit?
So I would like go back to saying the blind trust thing, but also I would also like to say it in the sense of this. I don't hold animosity when it comes to a game because I understand. I've been in that position. I've played games that have gone the arc that your arc went, Jordan. And I understand completely how people are going to analyze things and form things and etc. When it came down to you voting me out, when it came down to me knowing that Liz was lying to me and me confronting it to Liz and her saying otherwise, it was just like, you know what? If you are lying to me right now, you are lying to me because you kind of still want me to be with you. You still you don't want to have me be a problem. Either you take out the problem or you lie to the problem so that it's no problem. And so I'm just like, okay, at some point I'm going to work with Jordan again. And that's how I kind of moved with everybody. At some point, you lied to me. When I had a conversation with Kyle lied straight to my face about an alliance that was already exposed. And I just let him. I didn't have a problem with it. He came back to me and apologized for doing so. And I was like, it's okay. It's okay. I'm not going to get mad or make it a thing or story like I was pleading to you. I don't like the story thing. I'll cut off real soon. I just wanted to just go. I didn't want anyone else to have a story. Like, we'll just play together. You lied.
Yeah. Cool. All right. I'm going to try to go quick. And
Sorry.
I only have like a minute left per person. Neo, at Final 6, I gave you 2 options for what we could do. One of them was voting out Emily 4-2, and the other one was voting out Liz 3-2-1 and completely blindsiding her. Why didn't you entertain taking out Liz when I knew I was going to go talk to Malcolm next?
Because the next thing I had to think about, it came down to the going into the Final 5, was that I was going to be the Final 5 target. Guaranteed. I was going to be the Final 5 target had I not win the immunity challenge. And if not the main target, a target that Emily and Adina could have potentially pondered on. And that's what I did not want. I did not want to create a wave where it was me making that extra move. Remember when I said earlier where I had the benefits of making chaotic stuff? I decided against that. There was literally a time in my brain when I went to Malcolm and I said, let's make it 2-2-2. Let's just have it all 3 and then we control the revote. But I was like, you know what? That is making that's making a big move on my name when already I was a target for the last rounds. I was target for Final 8. I was target for Final 7. Right now, I don't need to keep being in your mouth because I'm already in your mouth.
Yep. Perfect. Malcolm, obviously, I was pretty confident I could get Neo to flip. Why didn't you flip at 6 when I proposed, different things that we could do? Why was it so important that I left at 6?
The reason why it was important for you to leave at 6 was because I wanted you and Liz to be split up, because if there was any way for me moving forward, I didn't need you two to be together, because then what would have happened is that Adina would have been the potential swing, because I knew Neo and I were working very closely together and I didn't want 2 duos and Adina to be in the middle, right? I also didn't want, like, Neo proposed the 2-2-2. It's fascinating to hear Neo's perspective because he was with it. And I was the one that said absolutely not. And I said that because if we did a 2-2-2 for Neo to then take out Liz, Neo and Liz together, it puts them more at each other at odds, and that attention is onto them. It also then ensures that I have the opportunity again to have the most options, but also that if we did that, it would have exposed me and Neo to be a duo, which then could have incentivized Emily to vote with Liz and Adina. And it would have I would have then been the target, but person voted out of 5. Again, I don't want immunities. I knew I was going to be potentially vulnerable. It would have given Emily that opportunity. I didn't want that to happen.
Yep, all good. I was so ready to run to the end of the game with you and Neo. I'm really bummed because I would have taken out Liz at 6, but regardless. Emily, I think after you voted, one thing I kind of question is after you voted out Nick, and immediately I was like, what the fuck, Liz? Because I thought Liz flipped. You literally just came off mute and then said, oh, I voted out Nick, and then went on mute and literally, like, I know you're going on your weekend with Pat, but like literally didn't speak to me for like very much the rest of the game at all about like, hey, here's why I did that. Didn't really leave the door open at all to work with me. Is there a reason for that? Did you know you were gunning for me next? Like, because in my mind, it's like, you just kind of ignored me and then.
I know. I'm sorry. And I do have a problem with like confrontation when it comes to like my targets leaving. So I'm sorry for that. When Nick left, I knew Nick left because you won immunity. So my plan was.
It was very predictable. We knew it was like me or Nick leaving.
I know. You're smart. We get it. The plan was to get rid of Nick, then you, then get rid of Neil, Adina, and at the time the more the game went on, Neo won immunity and we went to the end. This is when like Liz's game really outshined Neo's at the end. So like I'm really happy that didn't happen and Neo happened to win that. I am sorry because like this is what I wanted. And I thought that because I voted out Nick, who just gave me immunity, it was just going to be like, fuck, how do I go upon this conversation with Jordan? And I think after that, it was just like a trust thing because I pulled that move and it was difficult for me to like, it was purely just, I was just not ready, like, and I didn't know how to approach the situation with you. You were a big target. That's what I wanted. And I'm sorry that I didn't talk to you, but yeah.
Hi. It's been 10 minutes.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to rush.
You've been head off.
Oh, okay.
Well, the next juror is already here. Adina.
Hi guys, congratulations. For my question, I'm actually going to redo the round where I was voted off because Neo was drunk and Emily gave a cop-out answer because she was about to blindside me. So now you're all going to get a chance to try again. So we're just going to do the same kind of situation, go alphabetical. The person after you in the alphabet, you'll tell me why they will win. And the person before you, you'll tell me why they won't win. So starting with Emily, tell me why Malcolm will win tonight.
I think if Malcolm wins, it's because he's able to justify a lot of the things he did because he can articulate himself really well. A lot of the things he said are true, and he explained it just really, really well. I think Malcolm placed himself very importantly in this game. He did what he had to do. And yeah, I think he's just really good to have at the end and like a very deserving winner. But I think you just are really good at it. Like throughout this game, he's been able to have really good, consistent conversations, and he's just good with words. But you're obviously really good at the game. So I just think you're able to vocalize yourself a lot better than Neo and I.
And so why won't Neo win if Neo loses?
I think if Neo, like, why won't he win? I think maybe because a lot of the small things that he did, he's maybe making them seem a lot more important than they are. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
It's all good. All right, Malcolm, why will Neo win this game?
I think if Neo wins, it will be because the jury really gravitated and maybe had like Neo has, I think, the more visible story of the person that was voted out, came back, navigated his way to the end, a apparent endgame threat when it comes to like competitions and things of that nature. And I think that would be the reason why Neo will get the W today.
And why will Emily lose this game?
I think if Emily was to lose to get the game today, I think it would be because some of her in-game decisions doesn't coincide with some of her actions that she took within the game. And I think that there needs to be at least consistency in that regard.
Thank you. And Neo, next to you. Why will Emily win this game?
All right. I also wanted to apologize. I hated the fact that I was drunk that night. That really hurt my heart so much. And so I apologize. I didn't get to see you goodbye. I just woke up and you were gone. I think that Emily deserves to win, or she could win, just based off tenacity. Emily definitely was just an individual that you got what you got from her. And she just kept going. She kept playing the game in her way. A lot of the things that people expect you to play in a game was not the way that this Final Three did it. And Emily is kind of really the one of all three of us that definitely plays in a lot more of just her way. This is how she got here. And I think that the jury would respect that tenacity because that's just her game. I believe that Malcolm could lose tonight, honestly, due to a underwhelming control that of all three of us. Malcolm, I believe, is the bigger one, the more of the face of strategy when it came down to the merge. However, I think the jury might see it as, yes, Malcolm had this power, but his power lied with the people that were plugging it into him. So was it really Malcolm controlling, or was it really Malcolm getting assistance from the people that he socialized with in the game? And that is something that potentially the jury might think about and potentially why he might lose.
Thanks for your answers. I know y'all been going a long time and I'm like the second to last person, so I will not use my 10 minutes. I've gotten what I need. Good luck to all of you and congratulations for making it to the end.
Hello. Hi. This is our first time that the jury isn't here and waiting to go. So now you do actually have to hear our voices.
And we're not really good at filling dead space. So unfortunately for
There,
you.
she's here. She's here.
You're welcome. Liz is here. You don't have to listen to us now. All right, Liz, your time is going to start now.
Fuck, I'm like not ready for this. Okay, so first off, I want to say congratulations for making it to the end. Like, you guys fucking killed it. You deserved it. No matter whether people think you guys weren't the heavy hitters of the season, whatever the fact, you guys absolutely, each of you deserve to be here in the end. But fuck you guys for voting me off on my birthday. But anyways, okay, so I'm going to start off, since I'm the last juror, my question is to all of you. If there was anything that you guys would like to answer that wasn't asked previously, that would make me give you my vote, because I don't know who I'm voting for. So, Malcolm, you can go first.
Okay. So the question is, if there's something that I wanted to say that hasn't been said that could help.
Like if there was a question that wasn't asked by the jury that like you wanted to answer because you think it would benefit, the jury's eyes on like your game. Basically.
Yeah, I wish that I got a question of like that elaborated a little more on this silent control that I had in terms of just like voting correctly every single time I went to tribal council. So like I always knew what was happening in the game. I wish I got more questions on that. And my response to that would be is that I've played enough orgs to know that for whatever reason, that when I talk and I do the most and I'm doing all the strategizing, instead of people wanting to work with me and see me as an asset, I'm immediately seen as a liability. And instead, they take me out immediately. So that's why I didn't want to do as much talking. I tried doing more listening, wanting to take the advice of others, right? Liz, you told me, you're number 4, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we don't need your vote. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I tried taking all that information and trying to figure out, like, what do I need to do? And I felt like if I listened more, I then had the opportunity to try and make moves and decisions. And if I was too front and center, I would have been voted out, right? Like the continuation of me being targeted would have continued. And I think building upon the social relationships, I knew exactly what was happening every single time in order for me to get through each round. And then my radar was there was so many other, like, more, I guess, visible stories, because I felt like that was the narrative of people as we continued getting to the end game of, like, what was people's stories, but nobody was looking at what my story could have been. So I think that's something I would have said more on.
Emily, can you go next, please?
Yeah. Okay. So one thing I would like to talk about was the Adina vote and how the moment Neo won, initially it was our time to get one of the biggest players remaining in the game we all knew she would have won. It speaks volumes when we had the same question she just asked us that I quite literally could not say anything. Yeah, I believe you, Malcolm, still had a little bit of hostility between you two at that time. I'm not sure, but I think at that time I really, really knew. I messaged you the second Neo won immunity that we need to talk to Malcolm. We need to get the ball rolling on this. And ultimately, we did have to blindside Neo a little bit there. Unless you knew, but you were drunk. I forgot you were barfing. But I think that with getting one of the biggest targets out at that time, I feel like I had a really big impact with getting that together and getting her out. That's all I really wanted to say, because a lot of the other ones I did justify, and I just really wanted to speak on that.
Neo?
Hey, Liz. First things first, you look beautiful tonight. I hope you had a wonderful birthday.
That's me out.
Now, the question that I would like to touch on is kind of going back to what Juju asked me, but also explaining more into it that people didn't really. Well, Emily mentioned it. Was I didn't give up at the final 12. I know it seemed like it, and I know it was at a point where it was going to be either me giving into the narrative that I was after Jordan and just influencing the reason to vote me out even more between whatever your alliance with Jordan and Kevin was. And then it was either going to Juju. I didn't give up. I just knew the fate, and I accepted the fate. There was a twist that I could come back, and I was just going to just do it and let it go. And I wanted to further in with Emily that I wish people kind of were able to understand is that, yes, what I did may seem small, but small is big when you're sitting in the end, because you have to understand that the smallest things end up making the biggest outcome when you are trying to play a level of what happens this, what happens this, what happens this. And that is exactly what I did. I knew every single vote out after the final, like from final 7 forward. I just chose to go my own path because I knew the relationships that I had. I knew that I wasn't going to burn any bridges with Liz if I kept writing Liz's name down. Where me and Liz's game was going, it was going in a direction where we both knew it was one of us going to get cut at some point. So it was easy for me to just do that. But I also knew exactly what was happening that got me here. And that's why winning that final 5, I knew that I needed to win that final 5 because I knew that I was going to get clipped there. And me winning that helped benefit where I knew already was going to happen. It was going to be a me versus you, and I got here.
Question, did you feel like you had to win the final immunity or not?
So the thing with the final immunity, I had trust in that moment, and Malcolm can answer it if you want him to. I had trust in that moment that it was either going to be I won the final immunity or I won the challenge against you. And that's not out of cockiness. That was out of the plan. For me to be in the final 3 was to win or to beat you?
I know that's what I was trying to pitch, but whatever.
Yeah.
They tried to help me out. It's fine. Okay. So honestly, great answers, all of you. I honestly think that like coming in here, the jury was like kind of leaning towards one person. But after this, I really think any of you guys, of the three of you guys, can win. I honestly still don't know who I'm voting for. So my only advice is just like to really give a great closing statement as to why. Yeah, Emily?
I don't know if I'm allowed to like interrupt you, but I have to say that I had an answer prepared for you, and you promised you would ask me it if I made it to final 3 and you didn't, regarding Parvati's answer. So
yeah, fine. Go ahead, go.
So what was the like? I'm so sorry. I didn't want to like create an answer for something you didn't bring up, but you were supposed to say it. So what was it? Natalie asked.
Yes.
Parvati.
How does your game how do you transfer your game to the bedroom?
I bring both parts of me from life to the game, and I bring both of those also to the bedroom where I get what I want.
Oh my god, Emily. Okay, but anyways, no, good luck to the three of you guys, and really just like pitch it again on your closing statements, because I really do think it's anyone's game. So yeah, good luck, and I hope you guys, you guys did all great. Good job.
All right. Well, with our last juror, that was the end of the jury questioning portion.
You all survived. Congrats. The hard part is over.
And now you each will have 3 minutes to give your closing statements in reverse order from how we did opening. So we will kick it off with Malcolm.
Yeah, first things first, like shout out to production, the viewing lounge, anyone that's watching and that took part in this game. I hope that you enjoyed it and that it's a great ending. When it comes to the ending and thinking about this game and Utopia as a whole, there have been 110 players across 7 seasons that have played this game. I'm the only person to have a perfect voting record, which shows that I knew everything that needed to happen every single round. There was uppers versus lowers, Despinas versus non-Despinas, men versus women. There were so many themes that came to the votes as the game and the jury progressed. And I needed to I zigged when I needed to zig, and I zagged when I needed to zag. I knew that challenges weren't going to be my thing as I was coming in, so I knew that I needed to rely on the relationships that I made with others where I had my group of people I was always working with. There were people I voted against, and then we always came together for a unique cause. There's so many people that will say that they were the, they initiated the moves, but you needed my move. I always gave them the green light on to initiate that move because I always knew the information where if I wanted to do something different, I was able to do so and talk and navigate. This was the final 3 that I wanted to sit with. I felt like this was the final 3 that gave me the best chance in order to get the W. And what this win would mean to me is to show that, I can be rewarded, I can be respected for my game, and that, I was able to show and finesse that the one variable that we can't control coming into these orgs are the cast that you play against. And I learned about each and every one of you, and I used it to my advantage to build relationships, to progress in this game, and to ultimately card myself to the end. When I asked that you sit there and you make your decision to vote, what is going to be the story of Utopia? And I hope it is a game of silent dominance. I always knew what was happening, what was going on, and I carded myself to the end where I wasn't afraid to sit next to anyone and the stories that they had, because I knew and believed and trusted in my story in the game that I played, where I feel like it is rewarding to be your winner, your representative of Utopia 7 Mission to Mars. But I think everyone did such an amazing job, such a hard cast, one of the hardest casts I've ever played in my young career of playing orgs. And, I leave it up to you all, and I hope that you feel that I'm worthy enough to be the winner of this season. The end.
Let me know. I'm good.
You're good to start, Neo.
All right. So I once again want to just thank you all for giving me the best month and a half of playing this game. I honestly just ask you to really, really, really deep down look at the ramifications of how it takes for somebody that is viewed as chaotic. I've been told I'm chaotic bad. I've been told I'm chaotic good. Look at how I decided to portray myself in the conversations I've had with you. I decided to portray myself in the strategy that I've chose to share with people. I've decided to portray myself in challenges when it came down to just being as vocal as I could. I played truthfully to how I could play and navigate this game. And I really, really hope that not just because people are doing these flashy moves. I did one flashy move and I hated it because it really made me have to stab Kyle, and then he rewards me after it. Like, my game has just been something where I knew that if I did certain this and if I did that, I would be here. I accepted a deal with Espinillo because I knew I would be at the final 7. I accepted being able to just work with Malcolm because I knew that Malcolm had the people that I needed to vote with. It was great. It was the way how I was able to set up got me here. So yes, I didn't start fights. Yes, I didn't control a vote how I wanted to control it. It didn't need to be controlled. That's the thing that people have to understand. You don't have to control. As long as you are able to adapt and know where you stand, where it's not you, you're good. And for me, like I stated, my name was out on the chopping block 4 times, and only one of those times did it shock me in the heart, and that hurt. But I bounced back. There was no reason that Jordan and Nick even risked their game to save me. But they took that in their own way. They took that in their own prosperity to move me forward. There was no reason that Emily flipped. She didn't have to. It was good for her, but she didn't have to. And it saved me. It saved my game, and it saved Malcolm's game, and it saved Adina's game. Like, I think that you have to just look at forefront sometimes, is that you don't have to be the flashiest person to put yourself in the end. And I know what I was doing, and I did that perfectly. That's all I had to do, was just do me perfectly. So hopefully you can go in there and vote for me to win. But if not, it's okay. We had fun, and it's about to end. Good luck, y'all.
Thank you, everyone, for your questions. It was a lot more difficult than I thought it would be because under pressure, being confronted. But you know, like I said in the beginning of my speech, I had 3 aspects of my game: foundation, fade, and assassin. I did not have the flashiest game, as people can see, but it was the most impactful. When I wanted somebody out, it happened. And if they won immunity, it didn't happen, but it went on to the next target that I did want out. When I did start the assassin phase of my game, Jordan did call me out at one point for being one of the biggest threats in the game. And whether he believed it or not, I do think that he was right. I think that, well, I know. I was called a lot of things in this game. I was called paranoid, which I was, playing up to a lot of people to gain their trust and make them feel like I needed them a lot more. I was called annoying, which I don't really see, because I feel like I had a lot of good conversations with everybody and easy to take to the end. But, you know, the one thing I wasn't called in this game was the one thing I should have been called in this game was underestimated. I hope you know that I am not here by accident, and I am sorry if I am not good at speaking because I am nervous, but I am here because I made moves, and I was the social chameleon that I was, and I spoke to people, and I voted the way I had to. I made moves when I needed to, and you know, I think being underestimated in this game was something that I did, and it was a choice. So thank you for a good game. And I can't wait to see everyone after.
Oh, I'm
Okay,
not.
now
there we go.
we're not muted.
Congrats, Final Three, on making it through FTC tonight. Jury, the game is now in your hands. You can now go to your voting histories and cast your vote for one of Emily, Malcolm, or Neo to be the winner of Utopia 7 Mission to Mars. Once you all have cast your votes, we'll come back on camera and I will read the awards before Jen reads the votes.
All right. Well, jury, please go cast your votes. Finalists, you guys are still live on stream, so you can talk, but please don't talk about game because the jury is still watching.
Malcolm, are you ever gonna move those cups? I'm tired of looking at this.
Remember, so I don't live here. This is like my parents' house. I'm like here every once in a while. I just so happen to be here. So like when I left, I was like, oh, I'm not gonna come here for a while, and then I ended up here again. So you know what?
Cause that like we see those cups every time, man.
Why didn't you say anything before?
I noticed too. And I gotta
Y'all
say,
could've said
I don't know how
something.
you guys wear a blazer with a button up. I am sweating.
Oh, I am too. Trust me, I am too.
Oh my god. Add boobs to that. That was.
I need
That's all
Tylenol.
I could do.
I need Tylenol. I need Tylenol and a blunt.
Yeah, that was a lot. That was a lot. I want the awards so I can feel better.
No. This is gonna be a long night, I feel.
I am just so not good at being under pressure.
Under pressure. Dun, da, da, da. See, I don't know if you guys know that song. That was like back in my day.
You think Under Pressure is back in your day?
Not this.
Caillou wasn't even back in your day.
Nah, I had Caillou. I had Little Bill. Little Bill was my Caillou. For old time's sakes, can you guys remind the viewing lounge and the producer team and the jury, if you had to have a superpower,
Oh my god.
what would it be? Let's just remind the crowd if we can, please.
Time manipulation for me.
Oh, right, you. Emily, what was yours?
To freeze time so I can rob banks and get money.
What is with y'all and these time powers?
Maybe it's because we're such millennials or something, Neo. I don't know. What was yours?
So you see this wall? I can walk through it.
Oh. What is it called? All I
Phasing.
think about is like Shadow
That
Cat.
would be
X-Men.
phasing. Yeah. Love, Kitty Pride.
Hi.
Oh boy.
They're back.
I'm back. We do have the votes and we do have a winner. But before we get to that, it's my turn now and I get to look pretty and I get to read the awards for all of you guys and you get your sneak peek on what everybody thought of the season. So that is fun. Before we get there, I just want to say, as always, the season was really fun to do. Thank you to the production team and thank you to our super active DL. I was telling the pod chat earlier, I think this might be our favorite VL that we've had. People were very critical, but constructive and really funny and super active and just like really great. So the way that we do awards in Utopia is we come up with our nominations for 18 different awards because we are extra. We come up with that as a prod team and we send it to the VL who then votes on said awards. So you are getting an opinion of about 20 different people who have all been very invested in the journeys of not only the 3 people here, but of the other 15 people. Love having a cast where every single person shows up to play and plays very, very hard. So let's get to it. So for the hero of the season, we have Adina, and the runner-up is Juju. The villain of the season is the first time we have had a unanimous vote for an award. So the villain of the season was Jordan, decidedly. The best duo was Adina and Juju, and the runner-up was Jordan and Liz. The best alliance was the Real Housewives of Deimos, which was Adina, Christina, and Juju. And the runner-up was the bad place version of them, which was Whore Island, and that was Liz, Kevin, and Jordan. The best move, and I'm going to include an honorable mention because the one that I think was the best move didn't win. The best move voted by the VL was Emily flipping on Nick. And the runner-up was Juju saving himself on New Despina. And my honorable mention is Emily getting out Adina. The worst move was, and we all know it, Christina using the escape pod. And the runner-up was every time someone leaked the girls' chat. Girls out there, if you leak a girls' chat, the men will use it against you the entire game. Don't do that. Gone Too Soon was a tie between Andrew M. and Rabia. And the runner-ups were Andrew L. and Melody. We had a lovely pre-merge, you guys. They were fantastic. The best juror was a tie between Juju and Kevin. And the runner-up was Nick. The funniest moment of the season was Andrew unfollowing Juju on Instagram and Juju's. And the runner-up was Emily faking her BDSM test results to get in Liz's good graces. The best TV moment was Jordan fighting everybody on the merge day off. We had about 5 hours of streams and people were watching the entire thing. It was a really great night in the VL. The runner-up, we had a tie, was Juju going off in the tribe chat because he spilled, and Neo and Jordan fighting after the weakest link challenge on Telesto. Best confessionalist was Emily, and the runner-up was Kyle. The best all-around, also known as the Player of the Season award, was Emily, and the runner-up was Juju. The Hot Mess Express was Liz, and the runner-up was Juju and Jordan. The best newbie was Adina, and the runner-up was Christina. The biggest rat was Nick, and the runners-up were Emily, Jordan, and Liz. Shout out Precious Thoughts. Sorry, they're on the other page now. The most robbed was Juju, and the runner-up was Adina. The craziest tribal was the final 10-6-5-5-4 vote. And the runner-up was the first swamp tribe vote where Andrew M went home and there was a double steal vote. And then, of course, the coveted fan favorite award goes to Juju. And the runner-up is Christina. So with that, thank you, all 3 of you, and to the rest of the cast and the jury. Jen is here. Jen is here and she's going to tell you who won.
I am here. And I have the votes. All right. Here we go. Just want to say, you all played wonderfully. It's been a pleasure hosting you this season, and we hope that all of you stick around in the Utopia community because you have some fans waiting to talk to you once the game ends. All right. Roll my sleeves up, and here we go. First vote, Emily. Second vote, Malcolm. Third vote, Neo. That is 1 vote for each of you. Next vote, Emily. Next vote. Neo. Next vote. Emily. Next vote. Neo. Emily and Neo, you both have 3 votes. Malcolm, you have 1, and we have 1 vote left.
Oh my God.
The final vote and the champion of Utopia Mission to Mars, Neo. Congratulations, Neo. You are the champion of the season by your tribe mates. You have anything you'd like to say to the people? Now is the time.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I did not see that coming. Thank you so much. We're gonna talk and I'm gonna smoke while we talk because thank you so much. And congratulations to Emily and Malcolm. Good job, you guys.
All right. Well, thank you everyone who tuned into the season. We've loved having you and we hope to see you soon. We'll see you for Utopia 8 in a few months. Woo! Have a good night.
Good night, everybody.